I thought I'd buy a cheap machine from AliExpress to see how the experience was. So I thought I'd put a video together to document the whole experience. Due to the COVID lockdown, it took about 3 or 4 weeks for the package to arrive. I was sitting a long time in Hong Kong and Singapore, and then took quite a while for it to come out of Australia. Had quite a bit of a wait in customs while I was waiting for them to unbox it and have a look at it themselves before they passed it on to me. When the package arrived, it was pretty wet. The cardboard, I'm not sure how, but obviously it had been sitting out in the rain somewhere at some point and was quite sodden. But it didn't look like any of the insides were wet. I think it was just moisture that had been collected on the outside of the box. The CNC machine was pretty well packaged. Had a lot of empty boxes that were just used as space savers to protect the product during the shipping process. Nothing was really damaged, I don't think, straight out of the box. One thing that surprised me was the fact that most of the CNC machine was already pre-assembled. I was expecting to do a lot of the assembly myself, but it looked like the base was mostly assembled, and then the gantry was also assembled. You just had to put the two together. Everything else was already affixed, so the fourth axis, which is the rotating axis, was already bolted and aligned to the bed, which I've now taken off, but it was pretty good to see that it was already pre-assembled. As I said, I was expecting to do a lot of the assembly myself. I just didn't have to, which was really good. It meant that when it arrived, I didn't have to spend all of the time trying to figure out how to put it all together. I could just slap the gantry on and do a few function checks and pretty much jump straight on board with making it run, which was really good to see. Spent quite a little bit of time just checking, making sure that everything was the way it should be. It was just making sure to check if there was any damage, having a look at all the fasteners, and just having a look around and making sure that nothing had snapped during shipping. The box on the outside did look like it had taken an impact at some point. One of the corners was crushed on the edge of the box. It's not really the sender's fault. That's a carrier's fault. So just a quick look at everything that came out of the box. Everything was sealed in anti-static bags. There's a few fasteners, a couple of pieces of the material that the CNC machine was made out of. I think these were just spare pieces that were available to have a bit of a play on, so you had something to cut with straight out of the box. It had clamped to the bed a small vise that had been made out of the same material to actually hold these small pieces in. I've taken it off. It's not something I'm going to be using. Like I said, I was really expecting to do a lot of the assembly myself, but I was going to try and make this into like an assembly video and documenting that whole process, but as it was already probably 90% assembled already, I really didn't have much content for the video. This is about the only assembly that was really required. Later on I worked out that the parts that I've mounted it to in this video are the extension pieces. So you can do really tall pieces underneath the head. Later worked that out and removed the extension pieces and bolted it directly to the axis down at the bottom. I think it didn't really seem to change much about the rigidity of the machine. It probably does make it a bit more rigid to have it bolted directly on the axis at the bottom, but between the two heights it was about the same. They give you a whole bunch of screws. There's about 12 screws that you have to clamp it all together with. so it was fairly tight once it was assembled. The only tricky thing here was just trying to figure out the alignment of the holes. They're offset from where the head sits on the extension pieces, so it was kind of tricky to get the alignment just right so that the screw would pass through into both holes. Yeah, so I think in all the CNC machine worked out pretty well. I wasn't really expecting a huge amount, but to go from being out of the box and to essentially prototyping and making it all go, it only really took 2 or 3 hours to really sort of dial in what I needed to get done. So far I've been pretty impressed with the projects that have been coming off it. They have a reasonably high accuracy for the things that I'm doing. It's not overly critical, but it's definitely got a lot more capabilities than I need right now, which is working out pretty well. Anyway, thanks for watching.